Columbia University's controversial deal with the Trump administration. A deep dive. Imagine a university grappling with a deal that could reshape its future and spark intense debate. Columbia University's agreement with the Trump administration over anti-Semitism allegations is a prime example of this complex situation. But here's where it gets controversial. The deal has drawn mixed reactions, highlighting the deep divisions on campus, especially since Israel's war in Gaza began. The agreement, which reinstates $400 million in federal funds cut by the administration, comes with a hefty price tag of $220 million in legal settlements and a series of new measures. Critics argue these measures significantly restrict Columbia's independence and could suppress pro-Palestinian speech. But not everyone is critical. Some alumni, students, and faculty see it as a positive outcome that restores funding and facilitates reforms. David Pazan, a professor at Columbia Law School, went as far as to call the deal an extortion scheme, arguing that it undermines academic freedom and the democratic order. He warns that higher education policy is now being shaped through ad hoc deals rather than principled legislation. On the other hand, the Stand Columbia Society, which has long advocated for some of the reforms demanded by the Trump administration, welcomed the agreement. They believe it restores funding, promotes structural changes, and upholds academic freedom and institutional autonomy. Columbia also agreed to release admissions data and ensure that hiring and admissions are merit-based, not influenced by diversity considerations. Additionally, international applicants must answer questions about their reasons for studying in the U.S., and the university must develop materials to socialize students with campus norms and values. An independent monitor will oversee the deal and report to the government every 6 months. The deal's impact extends beyond financial and procedural changes. Columbia recently disciplined about 80 students involved in a pro-Palestinian protest at the campus library, imposing sanctions including probation, suspensions, and even expulsions. This crackdown follows the university's adoption of a controversial definition that conflates anti-Semitism with criticism of Israel, severely limiting pro-Palestinian speech. Critics argue that Columbia is prioritizing federal funding over protecting student rights and academic freedom. Sabia Ahmed, a staff attorney at Palestine Legal, contends that the university is abdicating its mission to censor and punish speech the Trump administration dislikes. While the deal avoids some of the more extreme measures initially proposed, such as a consent decree, it still falls short of the comprehensive reforms pro-Israel advocates sought. Elisha Baker, a Columbia student and co-chair of the pro-Israel group Aryeh, believes the deal fails to address structural issues and sends a message that discrimination is acceptable if universities can afford it. The controversy doesn't stop there. Some Jewish faculty and students criticize the use of anti-Semitism to restrict free speech. Marianne Hirsch, a retired professor and Holocaust expert, argues that singling out Jews for special treatment is dangerous and undermines the fight against anti-Jewish prejudice. For those critical of Columbia's decision to make a deal, even a less severe agreement legitimizes the administration's tactics and erodes academic autonomy. Joseph Slaughter, a Columbia literature professor, warns that the deal set a troubling precedent for political interference in education and research. Columbia administrators have defended their actions, emphasizing that the deal is a starting point for change. However, critics maintain that the university was more aligned with the White House demands than it acknowledged. Columbia University Apartheid Divest, a group behind last year's encampments, argues that the federal pressure merely provided cover for changes the university already wanted to implement. In conclusion, Columbia's agreement with the Trump administration is a contentious issue that raises questions about academic freedom, institutional autonomy, and the role of government in higher education. As the university moves forward, it will be crucial to monitor the implementation of the deal and its impact on the campus community. Trump administration's Harvard deal. What you need to know. Despite the controversy surrounding the Trump administration's ongoing dispute with Harvard University, there's still reason for optimism that a resolution might be in sight. Just last week, Columbia University reached a $200 million settlement with the administration, raising hopes that Harvard might follow suit. But here's where it gets controversial. While Harvard is currently embroiled in a lawsuit challenging the administration's $2 billion freeze on federal research funding, claiming it violates their First Amendment rights, Education Secretary Linda McMahon remains hopeful for a negotiated solution outside of the courtroom. In a phone interview with CNN, McMahon expressed her belief that continued talks with Harvard could lead to a resolution. She pointed to the departure of the heads of the Middle Eastern Studies Center as a positive sign, though she maintained that negotiations were still in progress and declined to comment on the specifics or the potential scale of any settlement. McMahon emphasized that the Columbia settlement could serve as a roadmap for other universities facing similar issues, suggesting a broader shift in how institutions engage with federal authorities. However, the path to a deal with Harvard has been fraught with challenges. Following President Trump's initial optimism about reaching an agreement, the administration intensified its efforts, issuing a stern warning in late June that Harvard's failure to make immediate changes would result in the loss of all federal financial resources. This was followed by the Department of Homeland Security sending administrative subpoenas to Harvard, requesting detailed information about its compliance with immigration laws. The controversy escalated further when Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced an investigation into Harvard's eligibility to sponsor the exchange visitor program. Harvard has shown some willingness to cooperate, as evidenced by the removal of websites for student diversity centers, a move that the White House viewed positively, describing it as a goodwill gesture. And this is the part most people miss. The administration has also been investigating other universities, although details about these inquiries remain confidential. This strategy raises questions about the broader implications of these actions and whether they signal a new era of stricter oversight for academic institutions. As the deadline of September 3rd approaches, when some of the funding cuts to Harvard could become permanent, the stakes are high. Will Harvard and the Trump administration find common ground, or will the conflict continue to escalate? The outcome of these negotiations could set a precedent for the future of academic freedom, campus oversight, and federal funding policies. Columbia University's $220 million deal with Trump. A breakdown. In a groundbreaking move that has sent shockwaves through the realm of American higher education, Columbia University has finalized a remarkable $220 million agreement with former President Donald Trump. This unprecedented deal is not just a financial transaction. It represents a significant shift in the relationship between elite universities and the federal government, particularly under the scrutiny of the Trump administration. The comprehensive 22-page contract, designed to address Trump's allegations that Columbia has breached federal regulations, encompasses a wide array of changes. These adjustments touch on critical areas such as admissions processes, academic departments, campus security measures, and hiring practices. This sweeping agreement aims to resolve ongoing tensions and restore a sense of stability to universities' operations. In exchange for these concessions, Columbia will see a substantial alleviation of the immense pressure it has been under since March. The deal paves the way for hundreds of millions of dollars in research funding to resume, which had been stalled due to federal investigations. Additionally, other inquiries that threaten the university's access to vital financial aid will come to an end, allowing Columbia to regain its footing in the academic landscape. This agreement marks a historic moment as it establishes a clear financial figure for a U.S. college to appease the Trump administration, which has openly criticized many prestigious universities, particularly those that are wealthiest and most selective. For Columbia, the price of appeasing Trump was significant. University President Claire Shipman confirmed that the institution would pay a hefty $200 million fine to settle funding disputes, along with an extra $21 million allocated for university staff who reported experiencing discrimination or harm during campus protests related to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Shipman expressed the complexity of the situation, stating, "This was a really, really complex problem. I will argue over and over again that choosing to listen, choosing to try to solve the problem with everything that we had at stake is not capitulation. This sentiment reflects a broader narrative about the challenges faced by universities in navigating political pressures while maintaining their educational missions." Both President Trump and his Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, have praised the agreement, suggesting that it addresses long-standing grievances from conservative circles regarding higher education. They view this deal as a potential model for other universities that may find themselves under similar scrutiny in the future. McMahon remarked, "Columbia's reforms are a roadmap for elite universities that wish to regain the confidence of the American public by renewing their commitment to truth-seeking, merit, and civil debate. I believe they will ripple across the higher education sector and change the course of campus culture for years to come." This situation raises important questions about the future of higher education in America. Will other universities follow in Columbia's footsteps, or will they resist such pressures? How will this agreement influence the broader discourse on academic freedom and institutional integrity? We invite you to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you agree with the steps Columbia has taken, or do you believe this sets a troubling precedent for academic institutions?